Yay!
It happened.
Yay for live.
Happy Monday and the cases thereof. So we were just talking before we started about the occultation. You had cloudy skies, I had cloudy skies, but I was mentioning that on Twitter, and someone was nice enough to remind me that in fact I was then experiencing a double occultation. I was seeing there was Venus, and then the moon was occulting Venus, and then the Earth was occulting the moon. So all three were lined up. And then if I wanted to put a couple of trees in front of it, I could have just kept compounding the occultations. So, yeah.
That's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it wasn't enough. And it's too bad because everyone was saying, oh, I know you want to be in Alaska. But in fact, here on the West Coast, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been awesome.
It was like 8 o'clock. It was still kind of darkish because in the wintertime here, it's a frozen,
darkish is as good as it gets, and that's okay.
Depressing, dark hellscape that never seems to lift, and all you do is just stumble around in the foggy, rainy, cloudy darkness.
It's not that bad.
Hoping for summer.
It's not that
Wondering
bad.
If the sun has forsaken you forever.
Well, it has.
It has. Hey, I'm going to say hi to some people. Nancy Graziano, of course, Richard Strassel, Matt Woods, Michael Thompson, and Mickey Vogel, Tony Lynch, Stephen Walker, and Nancy Graziano again, because
why not?
She is not only is she one of the producers for the Weekly Space Hangout, she is also the producer on the Astronomy Cast Facebook channel and manages all of our comments and stuff there. Hi to Guido Bibra, and that's it for now so far. But it's Monday.
And I'm in the process of sharing things out on Google Plus, and I'm highly amused to note that there's now a share on Facebook button on Google Plus.
Really? Is that not?
Yes.
You click. That's weird. I didn't know that existed. Maybe they put that in with the new redesign.
Yeah, there's now both share. You can share on Google Plus, Facebook, and Twitter, but not all three at once. So you have to click 3 times to do all 3.
From Google Plus.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Weird. What else was going to happen today? Oh yeah. So for anyone trying to watch the Weekly Space Hangout for Friday, I apologize. It's completely messed up. The encoding just never stopped. It's been saying processing for like 5 days.
Oh, God.
So unfortunately, and there's no way for us to dig it out. If someone can think of a way to dig it out and get a MP4, then I can re-upload that to the YouTube channel and we can get it from there. But from what I can tell, it's beyond hope. I put in a help request to Google. We are completely under their control, and it's not like they're going to rush to provide technical support for this free service that they offer. So anyway, I'm sorry to say it's dead.
That is so much sad.
Yeah. So, but it was great. So go to Fiat Physica when you get a chance and crowdfund a project. So for anyone who has no idea what it is they have stumbled into, this is going to be a live episode of Astronomy Cast. I'm Fraser Cain. That's Pamela Gay. We're going to take about 30 minutes and talk about what to buy people for the holidays. And in fact, we're like surrounded by gear and things to buy. Yeah, so I think we've both got many of our recommendations are around us now. But there's lots of other stuff. Oh, the Year in Space. Okay, anyway, I got a bunch of other stuff that's come in, but
and I'm working on a post, and I'm sure you're working on a post. So everything we say will be online, and you can find everything online.
You just obligated me to write a post. Thanks, Pamela.
Well, you can make somebody else write a post. You have minions.
I have minions. Okay, yeah.
I don't have minions.
Nancy, I got a topic for you. Okay, so we'll take a half an hour and then we'll stick around and answer your questions about space and astronomy. We will discuss your recommendations about what to get people for the holidays, or or your questions about dark matter, whatever you want.
That's a wide difference between those, but all right.
Yep. So say when and and we will begin this thing we like to call Astronomy Cast.
I'm pressing record. It's recording. My sound levels don't suck.
Yay!
Hi, Preston.
Hello, Preston. You're using Audacity as well?
I am.
You just caved, didn't you? All right. Here we go. Astronomy Cast, episode 396. Family Astronomy for the Holidays. Welcome to Astronomy Cast, our weekly facts-based journey through the cosmos, where we help you understand not only what we know, but how we know what we know. My name is Fraser Cain. I'm the publisher of Universe Today, and with me is Dr. Pamela Gay, a professor at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, and the director of CosmoQuest. Hey, Pamela, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Fraser?
Good. We were supposed to see an occultation of Venus by the moon this morning, and unfortunately, completely clouded out. How'd you do?
I had rainy, damp, awful morning. I rode a horse because the horse wanted to do something, and it was trapped inside, and I was trapped inside, and so we rode inside, and we were grouchy.
Oh, pretty much the best occultation of the year.
We did not see.
And big chunks of the West Coast was completely clouded out. So yeah, this should happen in the summertime. It's not fair. That's why I'm so glad that the big eclipse in 2017 is going to happen in August. Like there couldn't be better weather. Yeah.
Yes. So come visit us in the Midwest. Don't go to Carbondale. They are already like overflowing and it's years away. We will be planning something here in St. Louis. Details to come.
Okay. All right, let's get on. So every year it's the same dilemma. What gift should you get for the super space nerd in the family? And if someone has a budding interest in space and astronomy, what can you do to feed their hunger for knowledge? Today we'll talk telescopes, books, planispheres, everything you need to avoid a holiday gift disaster. So does this happen to you where someone goes like, I've got this kid and really likes astronomy. What should I get them?
Yes, it does. And it's one of these things of there are so many different right answers that at a certain point you want to sit down and interrogate the small child and find out, what exactly is it that you're in love with? Because some of them are rocket crazy, some of them are planet crazy, some of them actually like, stars and galaxies. And there's something different for everyone. There are things for the people who are into the math side and things for the people who just want pretty pictures, and that's okay.
Okay, so let's tackle sort of the one that we get, I think, the most, which is I want to get into astronomy for the first time, and I want my kid has expressed an interest, and I want to get them a telescope. So let's start with that kind of complicated one and sort of break down the options. So if a person thinks that they want to buy someone a telescope and they're, in Walmart and they've got the box in front of them, they're looking at the Craptacular 2000 telescope. So what do we suggest on that front?
You do not buy the Walmart telescope. Just step away. Do not buy the Walmart telescope. There are two different options that I strongly recommend. One of them is for the small child that wants a telescope but is still the destructive phase of their life, and that is the Galileo Scope. I have seen children use Galileo Scopes as though they were lightsabers, because this is, after all, Star Wars season, Newtonmas, and Christmas all at once. So for the small child or the clumsy adult that is likely to drop it down the stairs, use it as a lightsaber, all of these different things that you should not do with a telescope. For this highly destructive individual, get a Galileo Scope. You do have to put it together, which is a certain amount of cursing at small plastic objects. But once you survive this IKEA-like experience, you have a really nice little telescope that lets you see the rings of Saturn well enough to see the gap in the rings, lets you do quick through the eyepiece iPhone astrophotography. It's just a nice, simple, lightweight system, mounts on a camera tripod, and you can really do no wrong.
Yeah, moons of Jupiter, crescent Venus, great view of the moon. I mean, it's as good a view of the moon as you're going to get with, almost any telescope in that class. Bands across Jupiter. You're going to see some of the brighter deep sky objects like some of the globular
You can see
clusters,
Andromeda, no big deal.
Andromeda, Orion Nebula. So, and what does a Galileo scope run?
You're going to find it for anywhere between $25 and $50, depending on if it's a nonprofit that brought them in bulk and you're getting one of the bulk order ones. If you're buying it from a vendor that had to pay individual shipping and stuff, you're looking at closer to $50. So it's sort of like the difference between buying a camera on Amazon versus at your local camera store. If you give the money to the local shop, you're going to be paying more. But still, $50 for a really good refracting telescope, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And it comes with a couple different eyepieces. So other than needing to dig that tripod out of a closet, you're good to go once you buy this scope.
Now, in my experience, I've got one, and hooking it up to a tripod is a bit of a pain, the camera tripod, and you don't get a very stable mount. And you do get a lot of kind of wobble in the mount when you're trying to look through and see it. It's hard to line it up. So, it's not as nice as a proper equatorial mount. But again, it's just like quick and dirty. Let's get the moon in view. There it is. We've experienced it.
And that next stage for when you're past your child is likely to use it as a lightsaber stage of telescope development, or if you're not buying it for a classroom, where you can also use it as an optical kit. That next stage up is actually what I have in the corner behind me over here, and that is the Astronomers Without Borders One Scope. It's one sky. We're one people. We share one sky, and this particular telescope, it takes it to the next level. You can start to mount tiny cameras onto the telescope. It doesn't have a drive system or anything fancy on it, but it allows you to learn the sky by hopping from one object to another. It's
the
made
way
by
we
this
did.
restaurant. What was that?
The way we learned our astronomy.
Exactly. No computer involved.
Yeah.
It's just a perfectly good, perfectly straightforward telescope. Like I said, it's made by Celestron, and it's what's called a Dobsonian telescope. We've talked about this a million times.
Yep.
This is a telescope that it's basically a telescope on a lazy Susan. You can't screw it up.
How much does one of these cost?
I have to admit, again, it's one that varies a lot, but most of the time it's right around $200. So keep an eye out, look for your one scope. There was a good review in Sky and Telescope magazine, and you can get these through the Astronomers Without Borders website directly. So go out and take a look up.
That's really cool. It's a good, I was about to pop a YouTube video that would gotten loud. It's sort of a great way, Celestron's a trusted telescope manufacturer. You can't go wrong with them, but they're partnering with Astronomers Without Borders, which are really trying to help get relatively inexpensive telescopes into the hands of as many people as possible. So I think it's a great combination. Now we always recommend binoculars as well, and that's the other go-to, is like a nice big pair of astronomical binoculars. Again, Celestron makes a pair of those.
Nikon, Orion.
Yeah, something in the kind of 15 by 75 range, 20
I like
by
my 10 by 50s.
Yeah.
So I have to admit, I like smaller ones that have a bigger field of view because it's so much easier to learn the sky.
The downside with the binoculars give you a really beautiful view of the overall sky, and we were actually doing this summer. We're using my Celestron binoculars, and we were able to find the globular cluster in Hercules, Andromeda, a lot of nice clusters, star clusters, things like that. Not great for planetary stuff though. So if the moon looks good, but you can't see the rings on Saturn. You can just barely see the moons on Jupiter, but not the bands. So, the two kind of go hand in hand. You don't want to use your Galileo scope if you're going to be just kind of noodling around the sky. The binoculars are beautiful for that.
And this is where you start to learn the art of sky hopping. And You go up and over in Pegasus, and you jump this way in Lyra, and they let you find the nebula. They let you find some of the galaxies, but they're larger area objects are what you're going to be seeing with them. These smaller objects that require a lot more, well, resolving power. For that, you need a telescope that has a wider distance from one end of the mirror or one end of the lens to the other. So high resolution requires telescope, low resolution, but seeing more than you can see with your eye, binoculars are perfect. You're looking to start at around $70 for a good pair of binoculars, and you can pretty much spend as much money as you want, but $70 will get you a great pair to start with.
Yeah, that's what I think mine were 50 on sale, and I've seen them on sale from Amazon pretty often. As you said, you can go, sky's the limit. You get the image stabilizing ones, and then you're in the hundreds and even thousands of dollars. Totally worth it, but once you try the image stabilizing binoculars, you will never want to go back. But the regular binoculars are great. They're a little heavy, so if it's a kid, you're going to want some kind of tripod or binocular stand, or just some way to assist them, because it can get a little hard on the arms. And
in general, lie down. Just have your arms on the ground, braced, and that makes it all much easier.
Okay, so I think, what if you want to jump straight to the head of the queue? You want to drop, you're pretty sure the person in your family is very into astronomy. You want to spend, a lot, and you want to do it right. What would you go after then?
In that case, I'd go after some sort of a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. There's a bunch of different manufacturers out there. And get essentially as large a mirror as you can afford. 8 inches will start to get you large chunks of the sky that you can start to see in amazing detail. You can nowadays easily go up to 20 inches, and in some cases even 36 inches through retail suppliers. 20 inches is where you're starting to look at thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But for a couple thousand, for the price of like my bicycle, no, my bicycle wasn't that expensive, for the price of an expensive hobby, you can get an 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain with a good drive system, and it does start to be important to spend as much or sometimes more money on that telescope mount than you spend on the telescope once you start getting into the high-end stuff. If your telescope isn't tracking nicely on the sky, you're going to be miserable, and you're never going to use your telescope. Yeah,
so I think that's about the price range, about $1,500. That's a very nice present, but you're going to get something that's going to last you for decades, that's going to be able to really see anything planetary, any of the bright objects in the sky, a lot of the faint objects in the sky, and especially if you then pair it up with some kind of camera, you're going to be able to do the kind of astrophotography that you see on the internet, on a lot of websites. I mean, good, people can get a lot out of those kinds of telescopes.
And the place that I always go when I'm not quite sure what I want is Oceanside Photo and Telescope. They are not our sponsor. We do not receive money from them. We would not object to receiving money from them, but we don't receive money from them. The folks at Oceanside Photo and Telescope have more than once said, "Oh, you want foo? Well, how about foo bar instead?" And they've always steered me in the right direction. And they carry all of the major brands and some of the minor brands that have really good artisanal systems.
They definitely know their stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk gear. Let's talk about learning materials. Let's say you want to sort of get some books into the hands of a kid who is super excited about space.
So there's 2 different books that I'd recommend. The first one I think we've probably mentioned 10 million times on this show, at least, and that's Night Watcher by Terrance Dickinson. Night Watch, you're right, you have it on the back shelf behind you. Latest printing was in 2006. Both of us had it as kids. It's been in print for over 20 years. It's literally helped a couple generations of, night watchers fall in love with space.
Yep.
Now, The other book that I'd now also recommend is one that gets more into the tech and stuff. And this is a book that's come out from Astronomical Society of the Pacific, and it's called The Total Skywatcher's Manual. And page after page after page, it goes through and it details out, so you want to understand this, here's how. So you want to understand this, here's how. And it goes through apps. It goes through how to see things with your eyes, how to use binoculars, how to understand sky motions. And it's really written for that modern 10 best tips, BuzzFeed kind of audience, but with the level of detail that you expect from the Astronomical Society of the Pacific.
Awesome. What if there was more like science fiction that would maybe get them interested in space?
Oh man, that one is so hard to pick out for other people because we all fall in love with different things. I have to admit, if you're into planets, Kim Stanley Robinson has a bunch of really neat books. Red Mars is kind of the one I think that is basically required reading, and he's recently come out with some really excellent books that look at a rather bleak future and make you start to really appreciate the planet that we have and start to think about, how do we protect this world? The two new books he has are 2312 and Aurora, which exist in the same universe, but you can read either one of them without reading the other, and they still make perfect sense.
And the other one that we've raved about is The Martian, which is just an absolutely fantastic book. It's now a movie, but
the book is awesome too.
Yeah, the book is just great, especially the audiobook. So if you want to sort of put something on in the car that is going to just entrance everyone who listens while you're on some long drive, it's a really great choice, and you can't go wrong with The Martian. Let's talk software. And so one recommendation that I always make for people who are into spaceflight, but they want to play a lot of video games, is the Kerbal Space program, which you can typically get for about $20. And it is the most realistic recreation of spaceflight that is also super fun. And I've always said this, that I learned more about the mechanics of spaceflight in playing Kerbal Space Program for a couple of hours than I did in 15 years of journalism, space reporting journalism. That, you know, the concepts about different kinds of burns and altitude adjustments and apogee and orbital insertions and the different kinds of ways that the missions came together. You can recreate all of this in Kerbal Space Program with these adorable little characters. And you know, since I've been started playing, they're now much further along, and the kind of the complexity, but also sort of they've got a campaign mode where you start with, you know, you have to conserve your money, and they sort of get you fairly gently into the process. You know, it's a major accomplishment to even just get a rocket to orbit the Earth and not just detonate on the launch pad. So it's very similar to the original NASA, you know, exploration of space. So I love the Kerbal Space Program. Love it, love it, love it. Still love it. And go ahead.
And bracketing it, you have on the free side and the more sciencey side, Stellarium, which we've talked about a bunch. Both of us, it's our go-to software for where is this thing in the sky? When will this thing be in the sky? It's easy and super simple and free and platform independent and all those things.
Great. That's a great present to give someone something free.
Why not? But on the not as free side of things, and I have to admit, this is how I'm going to spend part of my holidays. My birthday is December 12th, and I let myself install video games because I'm not to be trusted with video games. I let myself install video games from my birthday until New Year's, and that's the only window I'm allowed to have them because I don't trust myself, nor should I. And this year I'm going to be installing the Civilization Beyond Earth software and just seeing what are the challenges, what are the technological developments, and what has Sid Meier's done to us this time.
Right.
So there's all sorts of different ways. Eve is kind of science fiction-y as well. Lots of ways to get people engaged. in games. And there's also lots of ways to get people engaged in art. And you have some on the wall behind you.
Yeah, well, I've got one more software recommendation, and then we'll get on to the art. The other one that I really am enjoying is called Universe Sandbox 2, which came out just a couple of months ago, and I've actually talked to the creator. And this allows you to literally simulate anything you want in the universe. You can, what about the solar system with 2 Jupiters? What about crashing Mimas into Jupiter? What about you can create comets, all kinds of orbits. You can just sort of see the way the universe work. You can zoom in, zoom out, see spacecraft. It's a great, really, it's just a sandbox for just creating any scenario you want in the universe. And once again, teaches you a ton about the way things operate, but at the same time is kind of fun. There isn't really a game to it in that you're not trying to sort of accomplish anything, but smashing the moon into the earth again and again is hilarious. So I recommend that. Yeah, you're right. These Adam Wood's posters.
Yeah, Aaron Wood, he goes
right.
Just One Scarf on Etsy. He has, actually a collection of 9 retroplanetary travel posters. Pluto's is deeply amusing. It says Gateway to the Solar System, Sail the Canals on Mars, Float Amongst the Clouds on Venus. There's all sorts of, not necessarily true, but nonetheless beautiful and awesome and deeply retro posters that he's put together over on Etsy.
Yeah.
Etsy works way better on a tablet than on a computer. I don't know what the heck they did wrong with their website, but I deeply encourage you to explore Etsy and their iPad app.
Yeah. The other thing that's just come out is the 2016 Year in Space calendar. We just did a giveaway on Universe Today with them. And I think we're going to do another one. They're sort of not a sponsor, they're a partner. I mean, you've probably seen them behind me year after year. But we've got, and I really like them. They just get better and better every year. This year, they've actually partnered up with the Planetary Society, and they've got great information on each month, sort of featuring different astronomers, different people in space exploration, different missions. But then on every day of the week in the calendar, you can see various milestones and things that happen. So it's, they've been making these calendars just better and better and more information dense every year. So you can go to yearinspace.com and get their calendar. And they'll be great. And they have the wall calendar, and they also have a desk calendar.
That is all awesome. Now, I have to admit, I probably spend more time on Etsy than I should, because I like to buy things from the actual artists. And there's a lot of time on Etsy that you will stumble into mass-produced things from China, where people have just had way too much staff and the freedom to actually put everything into Etsy. But a lot of the time, you're dealing one-on-one with the person who's creating the art. And one of the old friends of the show is Surly Amy, and her web shop is etsy.com/shop/Surly. And she has pendants, she has posters, and they're really amazing, and a lot of them include space themes. My favorite right now is she has a painting that shows a strawberry as a planet. I don't know why this one amuses me nearly as much as it does, but I find it kind of awesome. She also has a New Horizons pendant. Curiosity Rover has a pendant, and she's worked on a bunch of different posters. And go check it out. She just has a bunch of really beautiful stuff. Other cool places to go is there is the Geekery, and Megan Lee also has a collection of space-related art. And what's cool about the Geekery is they have, just like Aaron Wood, a whole bunch of different posters, a lot of retro comic book styles, neat stuff to look up. And then the last place on Etsy I'm going to bring up is called Shadow Play. And they're one of the many different places that print up fabrics that have the moon and nebula and galaxies. And one of the reasons I like Shadow Play over many of the others is it's not just that like super shiny spandexy material. They also print onto wool. So you can get an amazing wool scarf that is covered in lunar reconnaissance orbiter images of the moon. And what better kind of wool scarf can a woman want, or a man?
Than the moon. Yeah. Oh, man, what is the... Oh, right. So the other thing that you might be sort of interested to know that you can actually buy, and usually you have to get this through eBay, is meteorites. And so people may know that I often, when I see them in person, I will give people meteorites, and I actually buy them in bulk from eBay. And you can do the same. Whatever sort of budget you're looking for, in the $10 range, $20 range, or the $1,000 range, you can get something that's many kilograms. And you have to be careful and sort of make sure that the person that you're buying it from is legitimate. But boy, to give a person a piece of rock or metal from space, that is super cool.
And there are a whole bunch of different sites where you can get meteorites. And when in doubt, Richard Drum, who's one of our long-term, he does a lot of our audio engineering work, is the audio producer for 365 Days of Astronomy. On top of all of the audio video work he does, he also is one heck of a meteorite collector. So reach out to him on Twitter, and he's part of our community and can really help.
That sounds great. What other kinds of stuff would you get people for the holidays?
So I have to admit, I am a lover of the giant giant coffee table book. And there are some really good ones out this year. One of the brand new ones that gets totally sciencey while being stunningly beautiful at the same time is, I just forgot its title. I'm sorry. Preston, hold on. Getting the title back. I remember half of the title, but I remember the author. The author is Travis Rector, along with Kim Arcade and Megan Watsky. Coloring the Universe is the name of the book. Okay, Preston, I'm back. One of my favorite coffee table books this year is called Coloring the Universe. It's put together by a team of scientists, Travis Rector, who's at the University of Alaska, Kim Arcade, and Megan Watsky, who are both part of the Chandra mission. And this stunningly beautiful book goes through and talks about all the different colors of light and how people take both professional images and amateur images and layer them together to create these things that we find ourselves emotionally attracted to. And I just love the fact that it goes through and it talks about the science side of everything, as well as here, let us just give you the most beautiful picture of this thing that we could find anywhere.
That sounds great. Yeah, there's a bunch of great coffee table books that have come out this year. None of the others are sort of running across my brain right now, but that one sounds terrific.
And hand in hand with it, there's a book that got put together by Megan Watsky just for the 2015 International Year of Light, and it is aptly named Light. And it goes through and talks about all the different colors of light while pulling together amazing imagery yet again.
So anything else?
If I could buy all the things anywhere, it would probably be those couple of coffee table books and then all of the stuff on Etsy. And then I think any sane person would be out of money. So we should stop there.
One last idea, which is that you can get the Curiosity rover as a Lego set.
Right.
Well.
Yes. Legos always.
Can't go wrong.
And hey, if you're bored and looking for a way to amuse yourself and get involved, Lego has a great community for helping to pick what are going to be the next set of Lego kits. And you can either just simply look at other people's ideas and vote on them, or come up with some of your own. A lot of these ideas are community contributed, and our community's own Emily Lakdawala is like total Lego ninja. So follow her on Twitter for all of the science and know that there's Legoing going on in the background.
There's a ton of great space exploration Lego there. There's Apollo missions, there's Hubble Space Telescope, and a lot of them have gotten a ton of votes, a ton of support, and may get turned into sets eventually. Yeah, no, it's great. Okay, cool. Well, let's wrap this up. So I hope that we have given you a bunch of ideas, and I hope you've got enough time to quickly do some last-minute ordering through Amazon or Etsy or eBay or whatever you need to fill everyone's trees, Festivus poles, and Hanukkah baskets with presents. So thanks, Pamela.
My pleasure, Fraser.
All right. Stop.
I'm pressing stop and it's not stopping. There we go. Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble now.
Why are you in trouble?
No, nagging you to get on the Audacity bandwagon.
Yeah. Audacity knows that I didn't like it for many years, and thus it is punishing me.
I'm just going to say, thanks for clearing out the Dropbox.
Sorry.
That was Preston did it.
Oh, okay. I did not do it.
Yeah. So now it's I stopped. Now now my episodes will synchronize into the Dropbox again.
Yay.
Okay.
This was episode 396. Okay.
Nancy Graziano says, I have actually used my 2015 year in space calendar for ideas for WSH special. Nancy, I should give you access to Contact Database, which has about 20,000 people. That would be I think. And
you should also be following the 365 Days of Astronomy calendar on Google Calendar, which is filled with like all the historical randomness of astronomy.
That's super cool. Kurt Goodwin says, I have also found binoculars to be a decent introduction to astronomy, especially if one gets a pair that can attach to a tripod. Yes, I don't like binoculars attached to a tripod. I want it handheld. I want to just, as you said, you lay back, look up, and just look around. I've found every time I've tried to hook mine up to a tripod, which I can, it's just too janky. I don't like it. Yeah. And Thompson says, I like Sid Meier's games, but Sins of a Solar Empire way more than Beyond Earth.
Okay.
What
platform is that for?
It's going to be on Windows, maybe on Mac. I didn't like Sins of a Solar Empire too much. I'm sort of a real fan of like some of the classic, like Master of Orion type games. And my favorite game right now, Europa Universalis, they're making a space game, which I'm really looking forward to. So that I hope next year is going to be out, and that's the one that I'll be as my recommendation for the game, to people to get into. Okay. Hugo Burnham says, Richard Drum, you're a star. I mean, a meteorite. He sure is. All hail Richard Drum, the meteorite man. Let's see. This is a good suggestion. Sev Dust Bunny says, I agree to the visit to a local astronomy club is a great help, but also magazines and also a star wheel, aka a planisphere.
That is true.
Brian Schmidt says Kerbal is $40 now that it's out of beta. So there you go. Yeah, you can see it in 40. Sometimes they'll a Steam sale for sort of in the 20 range. No, it's great. And it's such a great game.
Steam is the best thing that has ever happened to video games.
Richard Trump says, arriving just in time to hear Fraser wind things up. So we said all kinds of nice things about you in this episode, Richard. So you may want to go back and check that out. Michael Thompson asks, what is a good astrophotography stacking program? I used to use a free one a long time ago, but I don't remember what it was. What is it? Is it Pix Insight? Registax? Is it? But Pix
That's the old classic. I've always used Registax. There may be better stuff that's come out since, but that's what I've always used.
I see the astrophotographers using Pix Insight, but I'm wondering if that's the wrong tool for the job. But yeah, Registax for sure. Emeka Vogel asks, every day we see more of the universe as more light had time to reach us, but at some point in time will we start seeing less due to expansion exceeding the speed of light? How long will we have to learn more before we start to lose our horizons? A few trillion
I
years?
think we're kind of at the point where I think we're kind of at the turning point right now, actually. But
Um,
before it's noticeable, yeah, we've got time.
yeah, there was an article that trying to think, they published a couple of years ago about this idea of the cosmic horizon and how we're going to lose our history, and eventually the cosmic microwave background will have been redshifted so far into the radio that it'll just effectively be disappeared, and that future astronomers trillions of years in the future won't have any knowledge that
Right.
of the Big Bang, and they'll be like, where did the universe come from? I don't know. There's no other galaxies anywhere we look. There's just the Milky Way.
I love how everything starts from the assumption that all prior knowledge is lost.
Yeah. Hugo Burnham suggests I'm buying my nephew a bottle of Pepto-Bismol for Christmas Day. That sounds good.
That's terrifying.
Matt Wood says, I've got an 8-inch Skywatcher standard Dobsonian for Christmas, and it's great. It doesn't have a tracking drive or go-to feature, but I can get nebulae open clusters like the butterfly and globular clusters like 47 Tucanae. Is that how you say it? Tucanae? For about $300. Tucanae? Yeah. Yeah, we don't see that, Matt, because we're in the northern hemisphere. So
yeah, you can see it if you go to Texas.
Really? You can see? Can you see the Magellanic Clouds from there?
No. They're much further south.
Well, 47 Tucanae is right beside the small Magellanic Cloud.
Sorry, Omega Cen you can see if you go to Texas.
Right.
Omega Cen you can see if you go to Texas.
So just keep rubbing it in. Yeah, I've used Dobsonians, and they are great as light buckets, but I really feel like to do this hobby right, you're going to want to get a camera hooked up to your telescope, and to do that, you're going to want a go-to drive. I would rather a smaller telescope with a better drive and mount.
And you're talking doing photography or imaging of some sort versus naked eye looking.
Yeah, I just feel like there's only so many times that you bring the telescope out and you're like, okay, I'm seeing it, and after a while you start to...
There are people that are super into sharing and super into challenging themselves. And I think if you're one of those people, there's actually a lot to be said for having, in some cases, that 30-inch Dobsonian telescope. But yeah, you're not going to be putting a camera onto it. So if you're someone that wants to preserve what you're seeing and not constantly be sharing it to that line of people waiting to look through your eyepiece, get a drive.
Yeah. And so if you could go for a bigger telescope, but no drive, or a bit of a smaller telescope, but with a better drive and, a better mount, which way would you go?
It totally depends on my purpose. If I'm getting something to use for education and outreach. So for me, if I'm getting something for education and outreach as part of my job, I'm going to get a Dobsonian. If I'm getting something that will let me do variable star research and astroimaging, I'm going to get a Schmidt-Cass.
Yeah. And it's hard because you can see, like a 16-inch Dobsonian telescope for whatever, $1,500 compared to an 8-inch or even, a 130 millimeter refractor. And you're like, oh, I could have 16-inch light bucket.
Well, and like I said, everything has a different purpose. The Dobsonian, the one sky I have is so that next year when we have 1,000 trick-or-treaters again, I can, instead of simply scaring them to death with costumes, I can also hey, here's a star. Let me give you candy and a star. They can't keep the star, but at least they can see it. And at the same time, I will continue to want a really nice refracting telescope until I get a really nice refracting telescope, because I personally just love the high contrast looks.
Richard Drum says, I want a mount that's completely automated. I can just turn it on and yak a guess, and after 10 minutes, all done setting up. Means Light Switch tries to do this, but apparently fails. Very bad reviews. I think that would be perfect, right? You take a telescope, you put it outside. It has like a smartphone compass and, GPS orientation right built inside of it. It scans the sky. It figures roughly where it is and says, well, I should be able to kind of see this configuration of stars, and then really fine tunes its viewing, and then it's ready to go. That would be fantastic. Yeah. I'm all done trying to find things by star hopping around. I want it all completely automated. Thank you very much. David Joseph Wesley says, I'll bet Galileo had pretend lightsaber duels with his telescope when no one was looking. Of course. Even made the lightsaber sound.
And he had the robes. He had Jedi robes. They just
Totally
didn't have Jedi. Yeah.
Thomas Traneker says, I love my 8x42 binoculars.
Those are huge.
8x42? Yeah.
Wait, no, sorry. I did the wrong math. No, 8x42 is a perfectly normal size.
Yeah, that's kind of small. Go bigger. Let's see. Paul from astronomynj.com says The Stars by H.A. Ray. I haven't seen that.
Oh, that is an adorable kid's book that goes through each of the constellations. And he actually makes up his own constellation drawings that in a lot of cases make more sense than the Greek ones.
That's awesome.
There is a setting in Stellaria where you can see the H.A. Ray is the same author that did Curious George. And you can actually turn on his versions of the constellations in some versions of Stellaria.
So have you heard this? So Hussein Ali asks, new studies suggest that more than 50% of Kepler's exoplanets are ghosts. If this is true.
Of its gas giants.
Of its gas giants or ghosts. And if true, the question is, how much could we trust these new studies based on the data provided by instruments and telescopes like Kepler? 50%, obviously.
Well,
how much we can trust them.
So this is the difference between a Kepler possible object and a confirmed Kepler object, because Kepler is able to see things by looking for faint dimmings in the star's light, which can also be caused by star spots, can be caused by another star, can be caused by all sorts of different stuff, which is where it's important to also confirm the stars via Doppler shifting, direct imaging if it's possible, which it is in some cases. Without this confirmation via a second technique, all it is a candidate. So this is why we have the word candidate. Not every candidate ends up becoming an actual elected planet.
So Guido Bieber says, actually, the video of Friday's Weekly Space Hangout does play fine, at least for my account, but it's not downloadable from anywhere. It may just really be stuck in processing. Yeah, I actually tried to use there's some services that allow you to download YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And I tried to use one of those to get at it, and it didn't work. So again, if somebody can think of a way, I don't know, like maybe run some
Sounds like you need to screen capture it.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, like run it full screen capture it, take that, render it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if someone can think of another way to get at it, that would be terrific. Or we just let it just drift away. Emeka Vogel says, I enjoy PixInsight for deep sky and Registax or AutoStackert for planets. So there you go. So I was right. Yes, cool. PixInsight is the one they use for the deep sky objects, and then Registax is the one for planetary.
And side note, just while I'm thinking of it, because I looked at Twitter, we have a new artist working with us over on CosmoQuest, Katie Siri. In real life, she is working on developing terahertz instrumentation at Rochester Institute of Technology. But we all have hobbies, and her hobby is doing amazing infographics, and we're starting to highlight her work over on CosmoQuest. So if you go to cosmoquest.org/x, that's our blog, and her infographic for December is up, highlighting some of the top things for the month of December. So go check that out over on CosmoQuest. Are we running out of questions?
No. Okay, so Nancy suggests a membership to your local astronomy club. Good one.
Yes.
Matt wants to remind you that the Aussie dollar is totally collapsed. There's no better time to visit Australia. Same with Canada, actually. Our dollar is just destroyed compared to the US dollar right now. So come on up to Canada.
I need to go to Australia again, because Australia is awesome.
Quickie Koala asks, is it really possible to see the dust and gas clouds from the Milky Way at some points from Earth with the naked eye? Thanks.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yes.
This is why, especially in the southern hemisphere, they refer to the dark bands as, depending on what continent you're on, either the emu, the ostrich, the llama, or the donkey. the dark bands are amazingly beautiful. You do need to go to a dark sky site. The first time I saw them, I was out at McDonald Observatory in West Texas, but I also grew up in Massachusetts, kind of bright on the East Coast. But any good dark sky site, you can see them just plain as day.
Yep.
If you've been trained to think of as clouds echoing down, reflecting down city lights, you'll think it's clouds, and no, it's actually the Milky Way. But when you're someplace dark enough to see them, clouds are actually the dark places on the sky where suddenly stars aren't visible.
And I grew up with the Milky Way, with the darkest possible skies. So absolutely, no problem. Yeah, you can, you want to get away from the city lights, and you can see the Milky Way. I can see the Milky Way from where I live, although there's a lot of streetlights around, so it's a little bright. But if I go to sort of an open field, can see the Milky Way just fine. No, it's not super bright there, but if you get to really dark skies, it's lovely. And so if you haven't done this, go somewhere dark, find dark skies relatively near you, and stay out until the Milky Way is up. Stephen Walker says, if someone's really into astronomy, very warm clothes are a big help, especially in the UK. Yeah. Yes. That really makes the difference, because some of the best things to see and some of the best meteor showers are in the wintertime for the Northern Hemisphere.
Smart wool socks cost an amount of money that seems absurd for a pair of socks. I have what feels like made a financial investment in owning 6 or 7 pairs of smart wool socks, and they are the best purchase I've ever made. Their PhD ski socks are perfect for staying up all night. Anything by Smart Wool as a base layer will really make you a happier human. Yeah,
I've got a Smart Wool sweater that I wear all the time. If you look back, you'll see me often wearing it. Well, that's a good idea. Hugo Burnham asks, do you know of any Christmas tree baubles that are astro related? That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm blanking on all of them at the moment. But there's
I've seen planet ones.
I've seen planet ones. I've seen cosmic microwave background radiation ones that amuse me to no end. Yeah, and there's a ton of science fiction ones on Amazon if you Google glass science ornament.
Richard Drum says, I tried to use Firefox to download December 4th. It wouldn't work. So I'll try a digital recorder and I'll put it on 365 Days of Astronomy on the 11th. Okay, Richard. So if you're able to do it, Richard, let me know, and then we can re-upload it back to the Universe Today YouTube channel as well. Stephen Walker says, if someone's a beginner, get them a subscription to a magazine like the BBC Sky at Night or Astronomy Now. I guess those are UK ones. There's Astronomy Magazine, Sky and Telescope.
And don't forget,
they take astronomy news. I know this is super weird, and they print it on dead trees, and then they physically move these dead trees with stuff printed on them. Or I don't understand, but
so if you're less of a dead tree kind of person, I strongly recommend gifting memberships to things like Planetary Society, Astronomical Society of the Pacific, and Astronomers Without Borders. All of these organizations, you're doing good with your membership, and they will send you different ways to engage in space.
You can also make a donation to CosmoQuest.
And while we do have a large NASA grant coming, that only pays for very specific science-related and formal education-related activities. So if you donate to CosmoQuest, what you're doing is you're allowing us to do all of the interesting public outreach stuff that NASA currently isn't in a position to fund, and we're still trying to figure out how to make happen, because it's our podcasting, our media, our hangouts. All of these things are what allow us to engage, well, the public like you.
You could also buy someone a membership to the Universe Today Patreon campaign, which gets you
all the ads go away.
No ads on Universe Today. They all just disappear. All the people who are complaining about ads on Universe Today, they all just go, beep, they're gone. As well as you get to see advanced access to all of our YouTube videos. And I'll follow you on Twitter. So check that out. You also get to see all of our bloopers and rehearsals and things like that. Okay, cool. We're sort of reaching the end of the hour, so why don't we wrap things up? Thanks, Pamela.
It's a pleasure, and I think we're scheduled to go next week, but I will be at a hotel, so beware, there may be Wi-Fi craziness.
Got it. I don't think we even know our topic next week.
No, I have to figure that out.
Okay. All right. And but definitely Weekly Space Hangout on Friday. So we'll see all of you in a few days. Thanks, Pamela.
Great.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.